Welcome to this bonus edition of Where to Ski. I'm John Morgan, and today I'm joined by Swiss superstar and Olympic gold medalist Ryan Regez and Utah-based ski videographer Tim Jones. We're at the Inferno Ski Race in Mürren, Switzerland, deep in the Bernese Oberland, and we've all skied this crazy race. The Inferno is the world's oldest, longest, largest, and probably toughest downhill ski event. It's a balls-to-the-wall run starting from the Schilthorn peak at 9,744 feet above Mürren to the village of Lauterbrunnen, over 6,500 feet of vertical and 14.9 kilometers in length when they have enough snow for the full course. Fastest time is 13 minutes, 24 seconds. That's an average speed of 66 kilometers an hour, or 41 miles an hour, on a course that includes downhills, flats, uphill sections, and icy turns. Ryan, Tim, thanks for joining, talking about the Inferno. What was it like for you to sort of pull up into Lauterbrunnen and go, wow?
Yeah, I had been over to Switzerland a couple times, but I had never been to Lauterbrunnen. And so rolling into that valley is just, it's insane your first time. And I didn't actually realize that Mürren was up on top of the cliff. And we rolled up pretty late in the evening with all of our ski bags and everything and having to take the tram up and then the train over to town. It was just, and then I think it was actually dark when we arrived. So I didn't actually see everything until the next morning. And it's just an amazingly beautiful place.
You were there for a few days before. You did training runs, and did you do other skiing too while you were there?
Yeah, so we timed it. We got there early enough so we could head over to Wengen for the World Cup downhill. So we were able to go there on our first or second day and just be spectators and fans of the World Cup, which was super cool to watch. Just seeing how many thousands of people show up for that race was amazing. And then, like the thing we talked about all week was kind of comparing and contrasting the World Cup downhill race across the valley to the Inferno, just how insanely different they are. How on one side you got the best racers in the world, but there's only 50, 60 people that get to run the race. And then on the other side, it's like this outrageous free for all where anyone who gets a registration can run, pretty much a full on downhill run. So yeah, it was really cool to be able to be there that week and see both of those events.
And to put it in perspective, there's probably 70 people, 70 racers on the Lauterbrunnen in the downhill, and there's 1,850 that go in the Inferno. They're starting people, 8 or 10 seconds apart. You get in the start and it's like 3, 2, 1, go. And
Yeah.
then the next one. Ryan, you've done the Inferno a couple times, right?
I've done it twice, if I remember correctly.
Have you ever done the full length one, all the way into Lauterbrunnen?
Honestly, that only happens very rarely, probably twice every 10 years where you can actually do the full one. So therefore, I only had two shorter versions. Once was from the top, so Schilthorn to Winterek, and the other one was even shorter. So that's a once in a lifetime thing. If I'm going to be able to ever do that all the way down to Lauterbrunnen, it's not getting easier with the global situation.
In 2019, my first trip over, got to Mürren, and they had the little sign up there saying what the course is, and everyone's standing around it going, "Oh, it's full length." It was a full length one, all the way into Lauterbrunnen. I thought I was going to die by the time I finished.
Oh, it's so long. I remember the first time I did it. That was the one to Winterek, so that's probably 8 or so minutes. Not, or even if it's 10, it doesn't really matter. Just the thing was, I remember going out of the start. I had giant slalom skis on, just for the reason I'm more agile with those and the massive bumps which will be with that late start number of 1840 or whatever. And I remember going out, and after the first minute, just that first straight, oh, my legs were burning so on fire, the lactic acid pumping, and I just somehow managed to get down. And I remember I was sore for a full week in my legs after. Like, muscles were completely destroyed.
You don't realize just how long that is. You're 5 minutes in a tuck, or some semblance of a tuck, to get to that first timing station. And at the beginning of the flat, you're going, 70 miles an hour, 100 kilometers, something like that. By the end, you're barely moving to get up there, but it's a long way and it's a different environment. You're in a high alpine environment. What was it like for you, Tim, just stepping out of the start and diving into that mess?
Yeah, I mean, it was so we showed up with one pair of Super G skis and two pairs of GS skis. And there was three of us. There was Marcus, the athlete, and then myself and our photographer. And the goal all along was like, oh, it'd be awesome if Cam and I could race. He's the photographer, but we didn't know if we'd be able to because we were there trying to make a video and get photos and stuff. But Marcus was conflicted all week. Do I run the Super G skis or the GS skis? Because his thinking was in those tighter turns, you'd be so much more agile, kind of like what Ryan was saying, that you'd be able to make up so much time there that you wouldn't need the long skis. But what we quickly realized after running the course was that there's so long of flat sections that you really need the glide of the longer skis. And I think that's why pretty much everyone there runs big downhill skis, is because there's just so many gliding sections. And even if you are fast through the turny bits, you can't make it up on the sections that are just never ending flat. So yeah, we ended up figuring out that Marcus was going to run the Super Gs, Cam and I would run the GS skis. And like you were saying, John, like you get all the anticipation of starting this race, but then by the time you step in the start house, your countdown is already at like 5 seconds and you just got to go. You don't get to stand in the start and think. It's just like, get the hell out, So it was almost like, for some reason in my head, I was like, okay, when I get up there, I'll get in the zone and like be ready to go. But I didn't even have time. I was just out of the start gate. And that first little section's pretty rowdy. You get going really fast. And then you've got a long time to just sort of prepare yourself for the gnarlier sections kind of in the middle of the course. And then, yeah, it's just a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, I settled on GS skis to do it because I did it the first time I did it on Super Gs, and I got to Woodcutters. There's an uphill section of the course called Woodcutters, which is about, well, depending on the length of the course, but you're about 8 or 9 minutes into the 7 or 8 minutes into the course when you hit it, and you have to go uphill, and you've got to carry some speed into it so you don't have to go uphill as far. The Super G skis were so heavy, I thought I was going to die when I did that. And I went back to lighter skis. And that's one of the reasons I ski on the GS is doing that, because it's just so brutal.
Yeah, that's
Honestly,
another good consideration is woodcutters. Cause yeah, I mean, even if you take speed in, you're still skating for a while. And it's really hard when you're already that tired.
And you've got everyone yapping at you on the way up too. There's
so that means you got passed on the way up.
I got passed on the way up. I got passed on the way down. I passed a few. So you guys haven't skied the lower part. You get past Winter Egg and you make those turns onto the essentially a snowfield there, and then you get into the switchbacks. And the switchbacks, there's like 2 places where there's rivers crossing the switchbacks. So you got to jump those, and it's total ice. And even though it's total ice, the switchbacks have got these like 4-foot banks by the time I went, and they're straight ice. And if you just got to bank the turn and hope you make it out the other side. And after about the 4th or 5th one of those, it's like,
yeah, honestly,
what was the best part of racing it for you guys?
For me, being in the finish with all the others, because when we had to finish in Winterek, it was you came in and had to kind of do like a snail loop into or spiral into the people, and then that was the finish area because you had 0 speed there. And just for me, the passing people, because that was hugely fun, and just seeing what level skiers are competing, I thought that was fascinating. And especially, like you said, or let's say the 3 of us have been skiing with giant slalom skis, I see people on Super G, on downhill skis, who have barely had a day on snow the whole season, and then they just crack out the old Super Gs or downhill skis, and they're super hard to ride. If you've never been, they're oh, they're horrible to ride with no speed, and just to get them to turn. So I think that's quite impressive that people with close to zero ski days actually crack the downhill skis down that piece, because it's got bumps and it's got those hairpin, the switchback turns. They're horrible to do, and just the highlight when you actually finish, because then the torture is over.
Yeah, the finishing for me was the best part. It was like, oh my God, I made it. Talking about all these guys that are getting on downhills the first time. You get on the tram on Wednesday, and it's very seldom you see a couple people with downhills. All of a sudden, you're in a full tram, and everyone's got long skis, long skis, 223s. They're all, or 215s to 223s. They're from everywhere, all over the place. And then getting on the tram on race day is pretty cool too, because I don't know if they did it the years you did it, but they put on AC/DC Highway to Hell. And the entire tram is rocking the whole way up.
One thing that was cool about that, John, is so when they're playing Highway to Hell, everyone's stomping their boots on the floor of the tram. And we noticed when we were standing waiting to start and the next tram was coming up, we could just hear that banging from way down there of everyone hitting their boots on the bottom. So,
did you go to the burning of the devil the night before, you guys?
yeah.
No.
No. Well,
How was that,
every
Tim?
year.
Honestly, that was one of the cooler parts of it for me, was just seeing this bizarre, borderline satanic ritual going on. Yeah, it was cool. The whole town gets involved, and it definitely sort of increased that feeling of intensity and what was looming the next day, because by that point you're already nervous, and then the burning of the devil, it makes you more nervous because it's pretty intense, and it's dark, and there's lots of fire, and so yeah, it definitely just added to the overall coolness aspect of the week. There's a whole culture around that race, and the burning of the devil is a really unique part of that culture.
Just a
There were
quick question, John and Tim. Have you ever done the combination of the giant slalom, the downhill, and the cross country?
No, so Marcus, who we were filming, was trying to do the combination. So he did the downhill and the cross country, and he was gonna race the GS, but that was a powder day. And I said, sorry, man, we got to go film powder today. And he was kind of bummed because he wanted to do the combined, but we ended up having an awesome day shooting off piste, and got some really great footage that day, which really helped our video out. So he had to bail on the combined. But watching the cross country skiing was a highlight for me because it's at night and it was just carnage. Like there's a bunch of spots where it's downhill into a hairpin turn, and like more than 50% of the people were just completely crashing out there, and it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, they've also got some bumps, not just small bumps, massive bumps in the middle of town on the bottom road. Oh my, and the cross country skis, obviously your heels aren't attached to the ski, just the front. So maintaining balance. And if you're not used to it, oh yeah, that took me by surprise as well.
When
You
you
must
did
be
it,
pretty good with that.
Oh well, they didn't do extremely good. That was my weakest discipline of the three.
Ryan, did it run right through town when you did it?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So
cool.
it went up if you arrive with the train part. So you get on the tram. It's a cable car now, and then you take the train over to Mürren. If you get out there, that steep hill up to the, let's say, sports center, swimming pool, hockey pitch area, that's where
Mhm.
you go up, and then you kind of go around the back through the ski school area, and then come back on the lower main street. So it's a loop and you have to do it twice.
Okay, cool. When we were there, it didn't run through town for whatever reason. It started up at the top of the funicular there.
Yeah.
And it was a big loop up there. So
what are the three things that you really remember about doing the week in Mürren?
yeah, I mean, I would just say it's one of those things. If you love skiing and ski racing and just like the culture of skiing, it's one of the coolest events that I've ever been to in my life. It's just, there's nothing like it, especially in the States. It would never fly to do an event like that in the
Not a
States.
prayer. Insurance companies would cut it off in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So it's like if you can manage to get into that race, you got to go do it. It's just like drop everything and go because it's that unique and cool. I would love to go back because I feel like I learned so much that you can only learn by running the course that it makes you want to go do it again because you start thinking, oh, I could have shaved off 10 seconds here, 5 seconds there. But so hopefully someday I can go back. But yeah, it was just an amazing thing to be a part of and such a beautiful place. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Ryan, you live there. What's it like for you to do that? What are the three things that you think of that?
All right, so the atmosphere for one, just because there's so many different races with different levels of skiing and different nationalities, it just makes the whole thing extremely special, and everyone's there for the great experience. So I'd say atmosphere, and then just the experience to run the race, to actually ski down the mountain as fast as possible in horrendous conditions, pace wise, and just to push yourself to the limit. I thought that was one of the hardest things I've ever done, probably and I've done a lot of different things already. So, and third thing, obviously the surroundings are stunning, beautiful, just fantastic. But also the team I was together with then in the combination and taking home the win in the team combination. That was very special for me, and I completely agree with what Tim said. With if you ever get the chance to race it, because the spots are limited, you got to do it. Just be safe.
Well, that about sums it up. If you get the chance and 70 miles an hour doesn't scare you, do the Inferno. It's a life-changing experience. If you like our podcasts, please share them and subscribe on our website, wheretoski.org. It's free. Stay connected to us and listen to perspectives on some of the world's best mountains from the legends that live there. If you want to see a full-length feature of the Inferno, look for the Inferno video as part of the Return of the Turn series. You can find the link in the show notes on our website. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Ryan. And thanks to the Grits for the music.